it's the adrenaline. And it's crazy to say that an adrenaline rush can last for 6 months or 12 months.
Brock Bentley is a 22-year-old videographer who's toured the world working for Timmy Trumpet, one of the biggest names in EDM music.
It's my job to make everything look cool.
He jumped on a plane when he was 19 and flew into a whirlwind adventure that took him to over 40 countries.
I wanted to just give more and more and more and more, and I wanted to be the best.
Brock has been on top of the world, living his passion in the most beautiful places on earth, but it all came at the cost of his health. And he eventually found out the hard way that you can't run on adrenaline forever.
All of a sudden, I knew that what I did last summer was not going to cut it. I really ran myself into the ground.
Yeah.
It was an implosion.
He's lived a lifestyle that most can only dream of and learned some harsh realities that have brought him back down to earth. Now he's putting his health first and growing into a man who can do it all. Welcome to Young Blood, a podcast about young men's health, sponsored by the Freemasons Foundation Centre for Men's Health. My name's Callum McPherson, I'm a journalist, and this is our mission to talk about the stuff that matters and isn't talked about enough. Let's get into it. So Brock, to start with, just tell us a bit about your craft.
My role most recently was content manager, but that was kind of heavily involved a lot of photography and videography, travel, all that kind of thing. So that's basically what I do.
Where'd that passion start?
That was when I was really young. My cousins, one of my cousins was like really, really into films, really into movies. So we would always make home videos. I think that sort of sounds like how everybody starts out. But yeah, so a lot of home movies, and I had a digital camera. The first one didn't have sound.
What kind of movies were you making? Was it like funniest home videos?
Oh yeah, absolutely. No. It was actually, my cousin was like really into it. So he would write scripts when he was like 12 years old, and I was 8. So I was his dummy. So we would follow these scripts, and it was like 3-4 minute home videos. But because the editing programs didn't really exist as a 8-year-old or a 12-year-old, we did a lot of in-camera sort of. So it was what you do as a kid. But that's where that started. And then throughout high school, because I went to a small high school, kind of dropped off a little bit, the passion. But then I left school and I went to university, and I was studying like Hollywood narrative. And doing that made me realize I don't want to do it. So I went into the commercial side of things. Yeah.
And so did you always have an eye for that sort of stuff, like photography and looking at the world through a lens?
No, I can't say that I'm an artistic person. A lot of my stuff is just, I think, crafted over time. There are a lot of dudes that I know that are really like stupid artistic, and I struggle to understand how they are that way and how their brain works that way. I think mine's a lot more like a method, strategic. Yeah. So
what sort of content did you start off making, when after you realized you didn't want to do that at uni?
I mean, I guess it was a side hustle to start with. I remember just shooting a couple of like 18th birthday parties with like my first proper DSLR.
Yeah.
So I did that and
doing the editing on those as well.
Always did the editing, shoot and edit. Like that's my favorite thing to do in the world. And then that progressed into nightclubs, which progressed into festivals. And then obviously everybody's goal is to work for one person, or maybe not that, but to work in the big leagues, they'd say, So.
And so did that sort of become your identity through that time? Like you were the guy at the party making the videos. Did you like that part of it?
You know what? It was a bit of a struggle to start with, because I was really embarrassed to chase that side of thing. Like self-promotion is something you have to be okay with. And especially when you're starting out, it's something that if you don't come to grips with that and you don't get past that, you're never going to be able to make it to the next level.
Yeah.
So starting out was like I was not comfortable with doing it, but I knew where I wanted to be. So it was like just part of that.
So what were you like in high school? Were you more of a quiet guy?
No. I was, to be frank, an arsehole. I wasn't the bully, and I wasn't.
Saying was, so it's all good.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I wasn't the bully, and I wasn't the bullied. I was in the middle, but always kind of like that kid where I can imagine if you're trying to get stuff done in class, it's just like, this guy, like he's just showing off, and like, so, like not particularly proud of that time, but it was just part of my character, and it's why I am who I am now.
And so did you get a bit of a taste for it after doing those first few in high school, those videos? You got some good feedback and you thought like, this is my thing, or how quickly did you know?
Yeah, it was kind of my passion for music in particular.
So was it always EDM?
No, I'm a big listener for things like classic jazz and
Okay.
and like
Old soul.
just like folk guitar, you know.
Yeah.
So that's like I love both, but that's what gets me going. Like I'm passionate about that. So yeah.
So how quickly did it all progress?
You know what? It was really fast, almost too fast for my own good. My very first time in a nightclub was when I was working. I was shooting a video. So
How old are you then?
18. Yeah, when I was legal. I wanted to do it before that, but I just didn't push the boundaries. So things moved really quickly, and then it went into festivals within 6 months, and then I did that for one summer, and then it just like I shot into the next league. Yeah.
So what did you love about it from the get-go?
Man, that's tough. I think it's like the adrenaline rush, I guess, because a lot of people in music would say that. Like when you're working and you're on stage, and even though I'm just a video guy, like nobody's looking at me, but doing that is there's like you're hearing your favorite music while you're working. Like you know when you're at work and a good song comes on, you're like, oh yeah, this is nice. Like it's a good day.
Yeah.
But it's like that all the time.
Yeah.
It's like that all
And
the time.
really loud.
It's really loud. Yeah, hearing protection, everyone. Don't forget that. It's that, and then you come back. Like I remember, I'd come back from wherever I was, whether I'd go home or to a hotel, or whenever I was reviewing the footage. Like it's for me, it's the same feeling again. I look at that and I go, "That's such an awesome shot."
Yeah.
Like it's yeah, and it just keeps going.
How do you feel when you were there though? Did it feel like work, or was it fun? Because obviously, I mean, you're not partying like everyone else is partying, and you are doing a job, but you're still enjoying it, and you're looking at it through a lens the whole time. So
You know, it's not. It doesn't really feel like work. It can definitely get repetitive, and it can like especially like when I was on tour, repetitive and really really tough. But it's just like doing chores around the house at those moments. But every other time, no, never. It was never like a job. It was just it was really cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
It still is.
So you did festivals, and then how did that lead to the opportunity to go on tour?
So Timmy Trumpet, he is a good friend of mine, but also now a very very big DJ. He's an Australian guy, so it's really awesome to have that. But yeah, he's a worldwide DJ, and I remember he pulled me aside one time and he said, he's just like, your name's going around a little bit. And at the time, I just didn't think much of it. I was like, oh, thanks, man. Like, I really kind of fanned out.
Just thought he was like pumping you up.
Yeah, you know.
You're like, no, it's not.
And then 4 weeks later, I got a message, and the team wanted to sit down for a meeting, and it went from there. Yeah, it was really quick.
What was your reaction when you got that message?
Oh, it changed everything for me. Yeah, because that's the moment that everybody is chasing. Like, everybody is kind of like, as a photographer, videographer, especially when you're young, not a lot of people are taking you seriously.
How old were you when you got that invite?
19. Yeah, 19. So it's pretty crazy.
So how did you see yourself at that point in time before you left? Like, where were you at mentally, and what was your self-esteem like?
There was like maybe a little bit where I was not comfortable with who I was, and I was definitely stressed because you're trying to make it. Like you're on not a lot of cash, trying to do something you're passionate about, and you're like, if this doesn't happen for me. Like,
so you've always put a lot of pressure on yourself.
Yeah, a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
So that was always there, and I think I even put the pressure on myself. Even once I scored this gig, it was just like, now's your time to show. And if you don't do that, like, you've got to go through the embarrassment of starting again.
Okay, so you felt like failure was never an option, kind of a thing.
Never. No.
Yeah, that sounds cool, doesn't it?
like, maybe. Yeah.
So when you got that invite to go on tour, where was it all going to start? Did you get a big poster saying this is all the places you're going to go to?
No, I think they're very smart. His manager is a very smart man, and he runs it like a business. So he turned around to me and was like, let's just do China. Let's just try out China. And at the time, I was like, China?
Yeah.
No way.
Had you ever been anywhere before?
Yeah, I'd definitely done traveling, but China is like, you hear about everything in news. You're like, this is going to be an experience.
Totally different.
So I did a week run with Tim in China. Yeah, a lot of pressure. I was sweating on the plane the whole way, but it went really well. So it progressed from there.
And so what was it like, filming that first show?
Oh man, it was an explosion of emotions, because the Australian music industry, while really impressive, when you step outside of Australia, you're like, wow, man, like it was a lot. And just the show itself, Tim's really known for his show and his energy. At the time, we didn't have a massive team with us, but for me, it still seemed like it was the biggest thing in the world. There was still a lighting guy and like a what we call a VJ, a visual jockey. So there were people running some high tech stuff. And China's clubs, I don't know if you know, but they're like festivals on the inside.
And so how hard did you find you had to work? Like, were you sweating trying to make it the best thing ever?
Yeah, definitely, like emotionally too. But it's always been in me to just go full steam ahead. So at the show, I'm gonna just go off the track here for a little bit.
That's good.
China is obviously known for their pollution and stuff like that. So the first time I went to China, I bought some masks for my face, just for breathing and stuff like that. But the clubs, or people still smoke over there in the clubs.
Yeah.
So that was the main reason for it. So I would wear these masks, and I got a little bit germophobic eventually because I was always wearing them.
Right.
And so yeah, with my energy on stage, like I was full steam ahead. I used to jump around and over speakers and all kinds of things while wearing this mask and a hood. So people started like, oh yeah, that ninja guy, that ninja photographer, like, because that's what it looked like.
Yeah.
So yeah, my energy's on stage as it matched Tim's, 100% matched Tim's, and we were always in sync. It was great.
Did they have like a name for you?
No, it's just Brock Bentley.
No.
Yeah,
There's a good opportunity there. Brock Bentley's already a pretty cool name, I got to say.
I like that. I changed it to Brock Bentley.
Did you?
Yeah, it used to be a different name.
Okay.
But
don't tell us that one. We'll stick with Brock Bentley.
In saying so, that was my mom's name, so I wasn't trying to be cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how confident were you from the start?
I was confident in my ability, and I was confident in my attitude. Like I knew that I was gonna make it good. Whatever I was producing content wise, I was like, this is gonna be the best that I can do. But I guess in the new age, it's kind of like you're seeing everybody else's stuff, and there's a little pressure, and you're like, oh, maybe I'm not so good. But I would always, I was like, this is gonna be the best thing, because everything was like, every show was like got better and better and bigger. So I was like, my content's gotta be even better,
Yeah. But how did you feel about what you were doing? Like, were you totally in flow with it? Did you feel like I want to do this for the rest of my life?
For sure. Yeah, for sure. I still feel that way. Yeah.
So after China, where'd you go from there? And then, how big did it get?
After China, I came back to Australia for a little bit because that was kind of like a probation, like they wanted to see how it went. But that was early May. And then by the end of May, I was off
What year was this?
Only last year, 2018.
Oh, okay.
So it was like, I say 2 years, but it was like 18 months, but 2 really full-on summers that I spent. But yeah, so end of May, I was off to Croatia, and that was like the first gig of the summer, like May 31st, 2018. Yeah.
And so when you got there, what was the feeling?
I couldn't believe it, because Croatia's like really well known for their beach parties.
Yeah.
So I went to this one spot called Zers Beach. That's how I pronounce it. But there was 5 clubs along this stretch of beach, and we were at the biggest one.
You're just like, man, I need to get a tan.
Well, I felt like, I was like, is this what Ibiza is like?
Yeah.
Like it kind of felt like I was in the movies. So I was, and then I was opened up to the Europe culture of EDM and partying and stuff like that. So it's like, wow.
Yeah. So you did that show, and then like how many dates were there in that run?
I couldn't tell you, man. I wish I could. On average, we would do 4 shows a week, put it that way. And summer lasts, you say, June, July, August. So 4 shows a week for 12 weeks.
Yeah, not my strong suit, mathematics. But
neither. I'm just telling you that I don't know the total.
We'll add it up later. So getting accustomed to that, like you've never been to one of those in your life, let alone for a week.
Yeah.
It's just completely crazy.
Yeah.
And for most people, if they ever went to one, or, one European summer, or even one of those parties, that's something that a lot of people would talk about for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
But for you, I assume it became normalized. So what was that like, living that life? Tell us about that, because not many people do.
Yeah. I think if you want to talk specifically about maybe the amount of gigs we're doing and stuff like that, and you're right, because that became normalized really quickly. And for me, there was no in between. There was no like I guess I was like a C grade photographer, or doing C grade, sort of stuff in Australia. And then I went A grade, or like A+.
Yeah.
And that developed developmental stage. I think that's how you say it. The stage in between, I didn't experience that. I just went from one to the other.
Yeah.
So while that's the coolest thing in the world, if you're not careful, you can lose a sense of what else exists and sort of sense of reality, I guess.
How so? What do you mean?
Because you get really used to everything that comes with it, because you don't I had my own struggles, as a photographer, but it was still a massive jump, and you get really used to everything that comes with that.
So you're talking about in terms of the scene, not like the skills themselves.
Yeah.
Like being part of that crew.
Yeah. Yeah, everything that surrounds it. Yeah. My skills, I adapted very, very quickly. That wasn't so hard for me. Being put in an environment like that really pushed me to be a better content creator. My skills definitely going from Australia to worldwide was really, really pushed to the limits in a good way, because I was surrounded by the top content creators.
And in a very quick time.
Oh, yeah.
As well.
Yeah.
So after you'd done, that first show of that week, and then you had to get up and do it again, by the fourth show in the week, did your energy level ever wane, or did you have days where you were like, can't believe we're doing this again?
No, not in the first year. No, definitely felt that. And I think maybe that's just when you start a new job and the first 3-6 months of it, it's like the best thing in the world. I think that's just what that was. Every lifestyle has benefits and then problems that come with that. So it's still, but the only issue is because you're living that life, people don't think problems exist. So when you talk about it, you can sound ungrateful. So,
and especially with your work, everything you're trying to create and project is a fantasy. It's like a perfect 3 minutes or whatever it is to say, this is the life, this is what we're doing, and you're creating that pretty much every day.
Yeah.
So, and that must be what you're trying to see creatively, the whole time as well. So that's pretty bizarre, living your own life and then also trying to put it together.
Because my job was projecting somebody else's life.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time working on content, and there were even days where we would Tim injured his foot early 2018, and there were days where I would go to the physio with him and I would be recording. It's like documentary style. I'd be recording him having his foot worked on by a physio. So yeah, my entire job was projecting somebody else's life, and you know what? It is really fun.
Did you at any point feel like you were losing your own self? Like you were so focused on projecting someone else that you kind of forgot about yourself?
You know what? I definitely bounced a lot off of Tim, but mostly in a positive way. He had so much energy, and everybody that he surrounds himself with, or everybody that's surrounded by him, it feeds off that energy. Yeah. So when you're a part of that, everything else is oblivious, and you're just fully focused on your goals. Yeah. So
did you feel like an extension of him?
You know what? No, it was still my own person. Yeah. Everybody in the team is different. That's what it is. That's the life of, unfortunately, social media and Instagram and stuff like that is fantasy. Yeah. Or people, maybe we address it as that because we realize. Yeah. But a lot of people, it's in their face, and it's my job to make everything look cool.
Yeah. But, so how close was that to the reality when you were living it? So what you were creating versus what was happening, how much did they feel like they were the same thing?
I mean, we call them recaps, right? It was a video recap because we're recapping the moments that happened. So everything there was real. And towards maybe a year through my editing, I actually started to include some of the stuff that was just went wrong, because that's what's really engaging as well.
Yeah. So what sort of stuff?
And I almost got lit on fire one year, one event, but I'm not being filmed, so I'm not, obviously that's not recorded. But stuff like that can go wrong. But a lot of the things, I guess, when you're traveling, it's missing flights or sleeping in, not eating right. You could be oh, we haven't slept for 2 days, and that's the real thing. Yeah, we haven't slept for 2 days. So I started to try and include a lot of that because people were really interested in how that all works. Not just that we're traveling and that we're staying in cool hotels and stuff like that.
Yeah, because I guess that humanizes it more. Because that's interesting though. Because before you're talking about fantasy, everything's perfect, and then this is more what actually happens.
I guess that was
combining them.
Yeah, I guess that was my progression as how I saw things as well.
Yeah.
Because my content's a direct reflection of how I'm thinking and feeling and seeing things. Aside from the marketing side of things being added onto it, but mostly it's exactly how I'm seeing and feeling things. So yeah, for the first year it was a fantasy. So it was all the good stuff in the content.
Yeah.
And then as I progressed, I was like, hey, why don't we show a little bit of this? And so I was really proud to do that. You know, because it's not all glitz and glamour all the time.
Yeah. So let's just get into what did come with that lifestyle a little bit, you know, when it was really at its peak, which I'm sure was pretty much the whole time. Yeah. What did come along with it? What were some of those things?
I mean, it's really nice to be staying in 5-star hotels.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
It was like you would just do that for months on end. And you never cooked for yourself. I didn't drive for months and months and months. We always had drivers and stuff like that. Yeah. And they were nice cars. They were like these big, you get used to traveling around, and they're called a Viano. They're like the standard Merc transport in our industry, the standard transport.
Yeah.
But we have...
What were you driving back home?
Just Ford Focus 06.
Yeah.
Hatchback. Yeah. But it still fit everything in it. Had an esky and a wetsuit in the back. But yeah, you know, like so I was not cooking for myself. I was not driving for myself. And so, but you can talk about that as glitz and glamour, but at the same time, in the moment, and I still think about it now, a lot of it is a necessity to make that sort of life possible, to make it not bearable, but, you know, for example, we would have, or not us, I know some artists would have things like underwear on their rider for their festival. So like you'd rock up in the green room and there'd be some underwear on the table, fresh underwear, perfect. And a lot of people go, why the hell are you asking for underwear on your rider? Like, isn't that just a bit like Playboy Ken sort of thing?
Yeah.
But it would be like, oh, we haven't had the chance to wash our clothes for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I need fresh underwear.
Okay.
So it's like there's two sides to it. Yeah.
And I suppose if you have the capacity, why not?
Well, yeah, I guess it's sort of like, but that is all included with like part of booking an artist.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like, you try not to think of it as asking for something extra. You think of it as this is part of the deal because
Did you ever get underwear delivered?
No, I had two things on the rider. I had hand sanitizer. Yeah. That's my germaphobe side of things. And I had batteries for like my flash.
Okay, not that exciting.
No. and we just needed Red Bulls because like caffeine was king. Caffeine was king. That's it. Yeah.
What about the partying?
It was all there. Yeah, it's all there. It's like the movies. You're partying. It's a non-stop party. You'd have a down day once or twice in the week because that's what you need to keep yourself sane. But it was partying. Like for example, we would there were always midweek shows. So we would play a midweek show somewhere on like a Tuesday, maybe. We'd go to Ibiza and we'd fly in the morning and we'd do the show. And Ibiza had a sick green room. I like that place. Yeah. There's like pizzas and a big bar and everybody's there. Everybody's on Ibiza in the summer. So we would do that on a Tuesday and then we would fly out on a Wednesday, go back home for a day, and then you start the weekend on Thursday and you play 4 festivals and then even a Sunday night. And then you'd come back. You'd fly home Monday and you'd relax and then you're back at the airport on Tuesday. So there was like, in the summer, there's not many days where you're not at the airport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how hard were you going though?
Oh, me? No. Yeah. Surprisingly, I'm not that hard. Me surprisingly, I never went that hard with the partying.
Yeah.
As I said before, I didn't have my first drop of alcohol till I was 18. And where that lies for me is that I'm not a productive person, either drunk or hungover.
Yeah.
So
surprisingly, just like everyone else.
Everybody. Yeah. But I mean, there's some people out there. I mean, I've
really soldier on.
I've really seen some people get stuff done when they're hungover, and I can't believe it. But for me, I just don't work like that well. So I did not party much.
Really? The temptation was like unbelievably ridiculous.
It's all there. It's all in front of you. Like if you want it, it's there.
Yeah.
But for me, I just, and again, this is me being strategic about stuff. I would look at it and I go, if I drink right now, there's going to be a domino effect where I'm not going to get this work done and then I'm going to have to do that tomorrow. And then everything else in the week is going to fall further forward.
Yeah.
So I was like, even if I wanted to, there was nothing about me that didn't want to party, but it was like strategically, like business wise, I cannot do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you didn't lose like how seriously you took it. So you didn't take it for granted as well. Like
No.
you knew you had to be on point to make it happen.
But that was my passion. That's my passion
Yeah.
for like making things the best.
Very
they can
easy
be.
for a young man with all of that at his fingertips to just like lose it, especially if your crew was like getting on it all the time.
Yeah. I think for me, I was like, I remember I used to be at shows, like these big festivals, Tomorrowland.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, how old are you? And I'm backstage hanging out at main stage. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm like 20 years old. And they're like, excuse me?
Yeah.
Because everybody else in the industry is 25, 26 years and older. So for me, there was always that reassurance of just how lucky I am because I'm so young to be doing this. Mm-hmm. So it was important to maintain myself in that position. Yeah.
So you didn't get to a point of overconfidence where you felt like, yeah, whatever, I'm so good at this now that I can party hard and I'll still be able to do it. Did you have any days like that? Surely there must have been a few nights where the peer pressure was too much, or you thought, yeah, whatever.
I think no. There's like definitely you're more confident in your abilities.
Yeah,
I could definitely say that what I'm doing now is like obviously way better than both content and lifestyle than before. And you do feel a sense of importance because a lot of people treat you as important because that's just a lifestyle. So there is that, but I never kind of had many moments where I was like, I'm the big dog, I'm letting my hair down and I'm partying for a week straight.
Okay.
Yeah. But the temptation is there.
Yeah. I think that's impressive though. I think there would have been, it's hard for anyone to really put themselves in like your shoes in that position. But I think with everyone telling you, how good you are and you're part of this crew and it's pretty much like the coolest thing that someone at that age could imagine.
Exactly.
It takes a lot of, credibility maybe to be able to.
Well, I just didn't want to stop working.
Yeah.
Like I just cannot never ever stop thinking of working.
Yeah.
And anything that's a detriment to that, anything that gets in the way of that is I don't put myself in front of that. Like it's I just want to be able to maintain the same kind of consistency, which is not always possible. But anything that gets in the way, I'm like, no.
Yeah. So how did the rest of the crew act and how did they respond to you being that way? Were they always like, come on, man, and trying to pour Grey Goose down your throat?
No, that team that I worked with, they were really, really, really
I suppose,
positive about that sort of thing.
Because they respected that you wanted to do a really good job.
And everybody's got their own way of handling things on the road. Everybody knows their limits. Like there are people who you can afford to drink because maybe you don't have to be on your best game early in the morning. Like maybe your job's only so involved at nighttime. So everybody respects how each other works. But there's always like occasionally, like when you're in China, just culture and customs, if they offer you like a shot, you do it because it's like, I'm not trying to disrespect you guys if you're, so that was kind of like the only place where I would have like a shot or two of tequila before a show. And it was always just to maintain like,
to be polite. Yeah.
Polite. Yeah. That's exactly it.
And hopefully they don't keep coming up and going.
Well, but there's a point, where you're like, no, just take it away.
So what was your vice or what is your vice? Did you have one?
That's interesting. That's kind of like the ultimate reason why I'm home right now. I'll get into that.
Yeah.
But for me, like I'm a very health conscious person, both physically, mentally, and all sorts. I think to the end of last year when I was really feeling ran down from the touring.
Yeah.
I was just like, but I wasn't eating well. I was eating spaghetti. Like I was eating pasta like 6 nights a week.
And
I was not
sleeping
working out
as well.
And that's right. Not sleeping as well, properly as well. So for me, letting my hair down was getting 8 hours of sleep and eating a salad. That was like the ultimate treat. It's like, I cannot wait to go and cook a home cooked meal. It is. It really is. And the other thing is like, I loved coming, like I'd come back to Australia every 3 or 4 months and I'd catch up with the boys and I'd have a beer at Seacliff Hotel and look at the sunset. That was the best thing in the world.
Yeah, that's nice to know that though, isn't it? Yeah, and look forward to that.
That's 100% me letting my hair down.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Yeah. That's funny.
Not what you'd think.
No one would come up with that answer.
No,
like if you're like, I asked this guy who went on tour with Timmy Trumpet to Europe, like toured the world. What's the like craziest thing he did? He's like, just got my 8 hours, man. Had a salad.
That's exactly it, dude. Yeah. Any week with an 8 hour sleep on one of those nights, it's a good week.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
So that European summer that went for like 4 months.
Yeah. I think I've been to 44 countries.
Okay.
Yeah. But in the summer, it's mostly around Europe. But that was last year. So most visited places would be Spain, France, easier to drive to. So we were based in the Netherlands, so easier to drive to France and Germany. Man, you get really lost. Croatia, went there a lot because I was like a midweek show. Portugal, one of my favorite places.
How long are you staying in each one typically?
Sometimes less than 24 hours. Yeah. My record, I think, was, we would do sometimes 2 shows in a night. So you would get in and you'd play a show, maybe like it could be an 8 p.m., 9 p.m. set. You do that for an hour and then you race off stage and then you get in a jet and then you fly to the next country. And then you're getting on stage with like 60 seconds until you're supposed to start. Yeah. So it's like literally sweating. Like you're running on the airport, like on the tarmac to the jet, you're running to get in the jet. And then you're on that for like an hour to calm down. Yeah. And then you're off and you're running again. Yeah. Literally running.
And you're coming out to these crowds that are just like,
it's crazy.
Unbelievable.
It's crazy. Yeah. So the one we did, and I've done this twice, is there's a show in Hungary. It's on the eastern side of Hungary, so the far eastern side of Hungary. And that's a show to 40,000 people. And then the next show on the same day, we get in a jet and we fly to Austria. And then that's to 50,000 people. And that's like the craziest day of the year. Yeah. And then...
what's it like looking out at 50,000 people?
You become really oblivious to it. Because for me as a photographer anyway, I'm looking through my lens to an extent. So...
Do you feel in the moment?
Yeah. Everything else is like, you'll miss a lot of stuff. And that's how I almost got caught, like lit on fire, because you're forgetting about everything else around you.
I think you have to tell us about that a little bit, more detail.
there's some countries out there where just occ health and safety is not quite as strict. And it also depends on the positioning of the SFX guys. So their job is to maintain sight on, there's like a line on stage which you don't cross. But if you cross it, which you're actually allowed to do that anyway, it's their job to make sure they're not setting off fire at that time. So with Tim, the amount of energy he had on stage, I was just like chasing him, literally chasing him with a camera. And he would cross that line all the time. So I was going across it, and just this one time in Spain, I don't know, maybe the guy was like scrolling through Instagram at the time or something. He just pressed the button and so it was like
shot fire out of the stage.
So yeah, there's like these little boxes on stage that shoot flames up, and they can be 1 meter, 2 meter, 3 meters, 4, like however high. You don't know. You get it. You get there like until sometimes the show.
It's too late.
You don't know until it's like, like 10 centimeters from your face type thing.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was the time that I almost died.
Yeah. So how close did it come?
Yeah, 10 centimeters.
Were you like facing it?
Oh no, it was hot. Like I had to close my eyes. It was hot. Yeah. So I was like running. This is the thing, is like running through it. It's almost like it was a line of pyro, and it was down at the time. There was no flames. And as I was running, that moment that I crossed that line, the flames went up. So it was just by chance. But it's that split second where, like, same thing with like falling off stage.
Yeah.
I've been hit in the face by confetti so many times. It hurts.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not every job you have to be a safety hazard, like watching out for like flames and that's shooting at you.
And then, like it only took me a couple of shows in. I was like, I really can't rely on anybody else. So I had to be aware of everything around me on stage. But that's all that exists. Other people, like you're not thinking about anything else at the time, ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did it get to the point where it didn't feel special, or would you always get that, that rush or the chills down your spine when you walked out and there was that crowd just like,
no,
or you're just like, oh yeah, whatever.
Yeah. it did become like that. I think my second year, so the summer just gone. Yeah. Yeah. Because I was doing a lot of the same shows. I was going to the same venues.
Yeah. Do you feel like the acts felt like that? Like did Timmy ever feel like that, or do those artists typically ever get to that point? Because their level of energy required is just like so massive, and they're just constantly working and generally playing the same stuff.
Yeah. No, I think with Tim, just his energy was an obscene amount. So as long as he was bringing it, which was 99.9% of the time, I was matching that. I think, but I never shot for anybody else at these big festivals. So I can't really for sure say whether I would feel differently or not as energized working for other artists. But Tim, it was 100% of the time, the energy was there, but it was like in a more like maintained sort of manner because you'd been there before, you'd done it. It was, I guess, like not having those nerves, maybe. That's what it was.
Yeah. And so how did you feel like you were growing as a person as you went through that summer? You must have gained a fair bit of confidence. Like outside of the actual job itself, how did you feel as a young man? Like, did you feel like you had to grow up a lot faster at that time or?
Yeah, there was definitely, because I try not to show my age too much. And a lot of people were shocked when they asked me how old I was.
Yeah.
Because I was surrounded by, 25 years old is like the minimum. And there still wasn't too many of those people. Most people are 30 years old now.
Yeah.
So I had to learn to have conversations with that kind of demographic in that age group and represent myself in the same way as well. So it was all about maintaining the way people see you, I guess. And because if you're seen as somebody who's young and annoying and inexperienced, like that's bad for business.
They won't want you around. Yeah,
that's bad for business. So who you are, and like I guess that's in all jobs, who you are personally or who you are at the job is definitely. But it's just a shame because that's what you're doing. That's your whole life. Like you're working 24/7. Yeah. So it's a tough thing to do.
Did you feel like you made a big jump though? Is that what it felt like?
For sure. Yeah, because I pushed myself into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I think often we don't grow like that unless we have to.
Yeah.
Like you're not going to go and make that jump unless you're absolutely forced to go and do it.
And that's what being outside of your comfort zone is.
Yeah.
100%. That's what it is. So really, really grateful for that at the same time.
How long did it take to get comfortable with it?
Me, really quickly. Yeah. I can see how a lot of other people would be on edge for quite a while. But I always put that pressure on myself. And I was just really lucky that the pieces fell together. So really, really quickly adapted.
Waking up in like a different country every day in the most beautiful places in the world. Like what went through your head in the morning when you looked out over the ocean or what the forest or like whatever. Well, I mean, a lot of the volcano.
A lot of the times the blinds were closed and you were crawling out of the door to get down to the lobby.
Yeah. But you weren't hungover though.
No, I wasn't. But still tired. But it was really beautiful, man. Like there was this one time in Austria where I just walked out and I looked at the mountains. Holy shit! And then I was at Tomorrowland Winter this year, which is up in the French Alps. They have Tomorrowland in the snow on the mountains. So that was unreal. There was always an appreciation, especially because I'm lucky enough to see so many different places, and everywhere is so different. It's just an appreciation for each individual culture and landscape.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah.
Were you thinking like this isn't going to last forever, or were you thinking I'm going to make this last forever?
Well, those two things come together because you want it to last forever. So you do everything in your power to maintain it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're always, and that just is a part of your drive. That's a part of like, you want to make sure. I want to be waking up in Mykonos every year.
Yeah.
Like in the middle of July.
Yeah.
That's what I want to be doing. Like that's awesome.
You really were high on life.
Oh, for sure, bro. Yeah. As Mr. Garrick says.
Yeah. Wow. So you did that first European tour. Did you come home?
Yeah.
After that?
Well, funny enough, because we were lucky where Tim is, he's got a big enough profile to tour all year round. So we did come home, but we stopped somewhere on the way home. But we came back to Australia, and whenever we came back, it was a week at a time, and then we would endeavor on another tour. So it'd be Asia or it would be America.
That's like just long enough to start to like readjust, really.
Yeah.
Like,
so you would come, and that was a thing with like. Everybody always goes, how does your body handle the time zones?
Yeah.
And people will I hear about people getting jet lagged, but that just doesn't exist. When you're traveling to that amount, you're either tired or you're not tired.
Okay.
There's no jet lag. You sleep when you're tired, if you can. You sleep when you're tired. And then
because you're like so far past the point of jet lag.
You're so far.
Yeah. You're just delusional at all times.
Can be. Yeah. But you would be strategic about when you were sleeping. You're like, okay, I'm going to stay up till this time because when I get on the flight, I'll be able to crash.
Yeah, and you learn how to do that, of course.
Exactly. You're really quick at adjusting.
How did you feel physically, though, after that first tour and during it? Because, like you said, you weren't, like, working out. I can't imagine you would have had time.
Well, this is an interesting thing, how your mental health plays on your physical state. So for me, while I was still really happy and really energized, I didn't feel it physically. Like, I didn't at all. I came back and I was ready to go. I was like, what's next? So I just kept going. It wasn't until I started actively thinking about the way that I felt physically was when I noticed it.
So what do you mean?
So I guess it's the adrenaline, and it's crazy to say that an adrenaline rush can last for 6 months or 12 months.
Like you wouldn't have had long enough between for that to wear off.
No way. No.
'Cause it must have been just so intense.
Because I would look at my calendar and I would have flights booked for the next 3 months.
Yeah.
Off to America or China or back to Europe. So there was no like, oh man. It was always, you were so excited. Let's go. Let's do the next thing, next country.
And I suppose even when you had a week off, you knew you were about to go to this place. So you're already feeling that.
There's an instant buzz, or a constant buzz. So it wasn't until I started enjoying my time, like letting my hair down, until I started enjoying eating properly and sleeping. I think maybe it happened over the period when we came back at the end of 2018. I had
that really good salad. That full 8 hours.
The good salad. No, we actually spent about a month back here in January
like,
last year.
This is the life.
Yeah. So I was like, I know it would have been. And that's when it's a really tough conversation to have, because you're sitting there going, oh, I just love sleeping and I love like eating a salad. And people turn around and go, what do you mean, bro? So it's such a conflict. So it was when I came home in January and I was eating salads. Yeah. And I was like, I kind of like this. So I want to make sure that I'm feeling like this on the road. So that's when funny enough, when you start thinking about who you want to be physically and mentally, you start noticing everything that's polar opposite to that. You go, I'm not feeling great.
So what was the point at which you started making that a priority? Was there a specific moment where you started to, think more about your mental and physical health? Was that because you got to the point that you had sort of conquered or mastered doing the thing that you wanted to do more than anything in the world?
I guess maybe subconsciously. Maybe I didn't realize that. But I had felt like I'd mastered touring. Yeah. After 1 year. It sounds silly. A lot of people surf.
Yeah, but it's an intensive training course.
Yeah. So I felt like that. And then I guess maybe my mind was set on other things, that being my health. So there was a time where like I said, when I came home, and in January, I was able to go to the gym every day. I was able to sleep correctly and eat correctly. And after that, physically, I noticed how much I'd changed. And then mentally as well. So that was like, all of a sudden, I knew that what I did last summer, eating 6 bowls of pasta a week, was not going to cut it. I was like, I'm not going to feel this good if I do that again. So I went and I did the second summer, and it was a lot better. Yeah. But there was a lot of pressure work-wise as well, because everything was growing. It was all exploding.
Like pressure to do even more?
There was pressure, a lot of pressure I put on myself, because Tim was exploding, and I wanted to just give more and more and more and more, and I wanted to be the best. Yeah. And part of that came with like at no cost. So while I knew what was important, I disregarded it. So then you're having that battle inside of your head.
What's more important?
And you're like, you're letting yourself down, because you're doing the work, you're putting in the hours because you know that's important. But just as important to me was my health. So when I became aware of health, it made things a lot harder for me.
Yeah. But did you physically have enough time and energy to be able to do both as much as you wanted to?
For a while, but I guess that's why I'm home now. Yeah. Is because I really ran myself into the ground. Yeah. It was an implosion.
Yeah. So just let's go through that when you're saying that Tim was blowing up and you were doing more work, and how full on did that get?
To run you through it, I guess at 4 shows a week, we'll start there. So my role as a videographer is to deliver the content, and that kind of industry is so quick, where people and fans want to wake up the next day.
They want it the next day,
and they want to relive it. Yeah. So there comes me, where you'd shoot a show, and
you're editing as well.
Yeah. And so we would be back at the hotel by 4 a.m., maybe 3 on a good night, and
civilized.
And it was like, let's get this content done. And I was falling asleep copying the data over from my SD card. I was falling asleep and I still had another couple of hours ahead of me.
Get me a salad.
Well, no, you would. You'd ring room service. Yeah. And then, first world problems where they're like, oh, room service is not 24 hours. And you'd blow your steam over it. You would.
That's when you knew you were in the big time.
Yeah. No, because you're like, you'd lose your crap. Because
like throwing your phone.
You couldn't eat. Yeah. So like eating was like a coping mechanism to keep yourself awake for the next few hours. And if you weren't going to
stay alive, that is the main purpose of it. Yeah,
pretty much. Yeah. So, no, I would stay up from 4 till sunrise, 7, 8 a.m. I'd edit the content, I'd upload it to Dropbox, and it'd be all there. And that would sometimes be like a whole recap, like a video, like a whole recap, or it would be what we call raw. So like Tim would play tracks, and we would record I would record some of those tracks, sometimes 15, 20, and maybe more, maybe less. So I would have all of that delivered by the morning. And I was doing that 4 times. But then during the week...
so how much did you sleep on those days? Like,
it was
after that?
It depends.
What time did you get up? So you went to bed at like 8? Or what time did you wake up?
Well, it depends when your pickup is. So you have a lobby call, and that can be 7 a.m. or 9 a.m. or 12 p.m. So I would always finish the content, and I would work out how many hours I was going to get sleeping.
Yeah.
And if it was 3 or less, I wouldn't sleep, because I knew that there was a chance I would sleep through my alarm and through like a housekeeping call or a wake up call.
Yeah.
So I would sleep. I would go down to breakfast at 7, 8 a.m. and I'd just eat some crap, maybe waffles or something, whatever was on the buffet. And I would do that and then keep myself awake until pickup. And then I would sleep in the car on the way to the airport or in the plane.
Yeah.
But that was always bad quality sleep because you're not in a bed. So, and then it was on to the next show. Yeah. So there was that on the weekend. And then during the week, I was editing YouTube episodes. I was editing for marketing campaigns and things like that, as well as adjusting everything from the weekend to make that all perfect for when it does get posted.
Yeah. So when people say, oh, I never stop, like you really did not stop.
Oh, no, I didn't. Yeah. And that's kind of like
and also like being in environments with that much stimulus, which is just like otherworldly constantly as well. Yeah. Like you talk about adrenaline, like your body must have been like a coiled spring all the time.
Yeah, pretty much. And I guess maybe that's how the whole first summer fueled itself. And then the second summer I really had to push myself.
So that first summer you weren't having moments where you're like, man, I feel really bad.
No.
Because you were just flying through it.
Everything was new. Everything was awesome.
Yeah.
Second summer.
I guess it's amazing what the human body can do if mentally, depending on how you're thinking.
Yeah. So in the second summer, I had things like back issues pop up, shoulder issues were popping up, because I was sitting there going, like mentally, I was like, I'm not getting enough sleep this week. Or I haven't eaten a leaf, like a salad.
So
3 days.
So you're paying attention to it.
And then...
Do you think you probably had issues crop up like that in the first one and you just didn't pay it any mind?
Yeah, because I've had, as most photographers do, I've had back issues since I started.
Yeah.
Just from carrying heavy gear around, but I just didn't notice it the first summer at all. Yeah. And then I found myself second summer, I was at the physio twice a week.
Yeah.
Through that, the whole summer, I found one day to come back to Amsterdam and I'd see 2 physios.
Didn't take you long to get old.
Mate, it's 22. Like, come on. Yeah.
So with that second summer, did you have a moment where you were like on top of the world, and then did you feel like you sort of slipped down from there, or how did that go?
The whole team was taking the whole team to the next level.
Yeah.
And we were always pushing for that. So when you were thinking about that, you were on top of the world. And that's the same thing with being on stage, definitely. And then I would come back to the hotel and I would be thinking about how much sleep I'm not getting and how out of shape I feel.
Yeah.
And maybe I was in better shape than last summer, but it's just that I was thinking about it. And that wore me out. Like I became so unhappy.
Yeah, because you knew how good you didn't feel.
Yeah, and that reflected everywhere on stage. It reflected the way that I treated people, and it affected even my other team members.
Your health was becoming more of a priority.
Yeah, and my other team members even saw it in me and felt that way sometimes. They felt unhappy when I was unhappy. It brought a lot of things down.
Yeah.
And
you can't have that.
I just know. So it was literally, I was like, if I keep going like this, like suicide will be on my mind eventually. So you're like, we're hitting the danger zone. It's time to.
So you felt like you were depressed?
Oh, 100%. 100%. Yeah. But it's interesting because you're not unhappy with the work that you're doing. You're unhappy that you push yourself this far, but you want to keep doing it. Like, you don't want to stop.
But it's like you can't have it all kind of thing.
That's exactly it. Yeah. So it
good time, not a long time sort of deal.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
You'd like it to be a long time.
Yeah.
But it depends on what you prioritize.
You're not superhuman though.
No. That took a lot to realize as well.
Yeah. Okay. So how dark did it get for you on tour there? And how did you manage to keep going and doing shows?
It's really interesting because I was always around people. So you blanket it a lot. But I knew 100% I could feel myself week by week just going deeper and deeper down this hole. And
people would have been able to tell.
For sure. My team members could definitely vouch for that. Because they were like, they hit me up and they're like, they sat me down. They're like, what's wrong? What can we do to help you? And they were like, do you want to tour less? And I just like the workaholic side of me was like, no way.
Yeah, because you were holding on to that.
No way, I can do this.
Yeah.
Like
you knew the opportunity you had, and it's your identity as well at that point.
And you're like you want to work, you want to achieve the best results, and being unhappy is getting in the way of that. So it's a spiral. Yeah.
So where did that go?
Well, it led me back here to home. But first there was an implosion.
Yeah.
You know,
tell us about that.
It was actually really gradual. It was really, really gradual. My girlfriend was actually with me overseas at the time. She spent the summer over in Amsterdam, and she pulled me up one day and she was just like, can you stop complaining? And it was just that, someone being straight up front with me, just going like, shut up. You just never have anything good to say about what you're doing.
How is that different from how you were in the first summer?
Well, in the first summer, I just didn't have a bad word to say about it.
Yeah.
The first summer, everything was just not a party, but exactly what adrenaline does to you.
Surreal.
Yeah, really surreal. You're not thinking about consequences. You're not thinking about how you're feeling. You're just enjoying it and you're living it. So then when somebody pulled me up on it after weeks of feeling that way, I was like, okay, it's become really obvious. And then my team pulled me up and I'm like, man, okay, shit.
Yeah.
We're having.
And was your content not as good as well at that time?
No, because that was the issue, is that work was first.
Yeah.
And it still is to some extent.
Okay.
So that never suffered.
Yeah.
It was me.
Yeah.
That was like suffering from
it. Yeah. So sort of obviously a typical burnout sort of scenario where they talk about burnout and you wouldn't have known or believed that was a thing after the first year.
No way.
And then eventually, like, bang, there you were, like, burnt out.
Yeah, it just hits you.
Yeah. So your girlfriend pulled you up. And then from there, how long did it take before you quit?
Well, you know, when you start to realize you don't like something and then you find reasons why you don't like it even more and you resent everything.
Yeah.
And for no good reason. I knew that was maybe not my actual opinion on the situation, but I was giving myself excuses maybe to pull myself out of what was making me unhappy. I'm not really sure. But she pulled me up, and then at that moment, health just became number one for a moment. And maybe it was when I was in bed at nighttime, I was just like thinking about my health. Yeah. And when I was laying on the physio table, that kind of thing.
And so when did you crack finally or decide to act on it?
When I was already home. Yeah, I could put a date on it.
Okay, so you got to the end of the second.
Yeah, so I got to the end, and we actually collectively made a decision for me to come home, and I was going to do a little bit less touring. And then I had a lot of issues with even doing editing at home because I tied all of that to the way that I was feeling.
Yeah.
So it's that resentment, I think, is the word.
So you just really felt like you needed space.
Yep. So October 15th, I had a phone call with somebody and they were like, do you want to do this anymore? And every part of me was like, yes, of course I want to still do this. Like I loved everybody that I worked with and I 100% wanted to keep going, but I said no, because I took that phone call when I was in the gym, and I was like, this is where I need to be right now, you know?
And so how do you feel now having made that call?
There's definitely some pressure because people see you in a certain way where they're like, this guy's number one. There's definitely people that aspire and look up to me.
And you made yourself out to be that. So then you feel the pressure to live up to it.
Yeah. Maintaining your what people think of you. But in the same sense, I never really portrayed anybody different. Like, that's who I am. I work nonstop. And the reason I do that is so that I can have a good life, as everybody does. So there's just pressure to do that for myself as well. Yeah.
But you sounds like you learned that you can't continue to have that forever without looking after yourself as well.
Yeah. And that's an ongoing thing.
So how do you feel now, physically and mentally?
A little bit better, yeah. But I realized that it was a little bit bigger than what I was doing, is that I've come home and I still want to keep working. I just want to keep, because there's just in me, it's that, as I said before, strategically mapping things out, and you just can't stop ticking. So for me, I've realized it's a lot bigger than that. Like, this is something that I have to deal with, and I will personally, and that I can't really like hold it as, while touring was like definitely a large contributor to it, and maybe that's kind of like what started the fire, if you know what I mean. Like, that's what was a contributor to me never wanting to stop. But it's no longer an aspect, and there's another issue, I guess. Yeah.
So are you just taking time to really focus on your health now?
For sure. Yeah. Definitely spending a lot of time in the gym, eating salads, and just having those kind of conversations with people about how I'm feeling. Like, that's the most important thing for me, is making sure that I'm making a point of the way that I'm feeling, because that's what for me is I'm able to highlight progression, or the opposite is that if I'm talking about it. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you put a lot of work in and a lot of energy in over here, your career, having that once in a lifetime experience, or twice in a lifetime, or maybe it'll be 100 times in a lifetime. I don't know. But then you have to go and fill this up over here with your health and things that you've neglected. Yeah. And that's no different to anyone else. You know,
exactly.
If we're going to put all our eggs in one basket, other things are going to run dry.
Exactly.
So I think, you know, you realizing that and wising up to that, and feeling that, you know, you weren't going to be able to be who you wanted to be and keep this going without addressing this as well. You know, you mentioned, I mean, suicide there, which is very extreme, but if you see that anything in that realm as a possibility, then you're very wise and brave to pull yourself up and throw it away, but, you know, temporarily put to the side something that you felt like was all you were living for.
Yeah. And it was never, the word suicide's quite strong, and I know that a lot of people react to that differently. I just want to make it clear that was never like a thought in my head, but I could see it coming. It was like, if you don't pull yourself up, like, that's like, you will find yourself in that position. Yeah.
Okay. So how do you come off that high? How do you come back to, well, reality, people would say?
Well, for me, it's letting my hair down. It's, I think I was very much looking forward to coming home. So it was actually an easy transition to some extent, in that I could finally do what I wanted to do all the time. But then in that, I'm missing out on everything else. Yeah. So, but I never saw it as the end when I came home. So I'm still working towards something much bigger. So it's not, I'm not feeling bad about not being a part of it, and I'm just looking forward to the next thing. Yeah.
So when do you think you're going to be ready to go and do that, or how are you going to approach it differently? Because obviously you can never go back to being the way you were on that first tour.
Well, for me, I'm actually looking at ways of still being a part of that kind of culture in that industry without having to tour so much. So that's definitely kind of where I'm working towards, is finding that balance. So I'm doing a little bit of touring later this year, and I'll definitely be back in Europe next summer, but it'll be more maintained. I'll be more cautious about the amount of touring that I'm doing, or maybe not how I'm approaching it, actually, because that's what I tried this year. So it's maybe the amount.
How are you a different person now to before you got on that first plane?
I think with it comes a lot of life experience. So I feel very lucky in that I can operate maybe like somebody who's 5 years older. and be in those sort of situations. That has a lot of advantages, but at the same time, lost a little bit of sense of what really goes on in the normal side of things, you know. So I remember when I first came back, the first like 2 weeks, I went out to eat a couple of times, and I was just being really picky about everything. I was just like, why is the waiter doing this? Why are they not attending to me like this? And so I was like really not down to earth, I guess. I was not down to earth.
And
so
did that not feel like the real you, really, or didn't feel like who you wanted to be anyway?
It was tough to tell, but I knew that like it was important to find or to be able to maybe switch between the two. To switch, it was really important to realize that this is one life and this is how you can behave, or this is what you need to do to survive, and this is your other life, and it's really important that you are the right person in both those situations.
Yeah. And don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick, guys. Come on.
What would you go back and tell yourself?
Oh, eat a salad. Yeah. that's gonna keep coming up. I think I would go back and maybe I would have liked to have a lot earlier on found a strategy to cope with everything in a more healthy kind of way. I think if I had realized a lot earlier, maybe even in the first summer, how important it was to maintain my health mentally and physically, as well as my work relationships and what I was doing, maybe that would have given me more time to work things out. But instead it felt like it was coming to a really quick, like sort this out really fast.
So do you feel like you're going to come back bigger and stronger?
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Like it's going to be a different experience altogether. Yeah, but in a good way.
Are you the man you want to be?
Not yet. No, probably never will be.
Yeah. Who is that?
Kind. Yeah. I just want to be a kind dude, and I'm not that yet. Yeah. It's a silly thing to say. But some of my favorite people in the world are the people that are just nice. Like couldn't like my mom. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, what do you want to get out of your life?
I'm all about business. I'd like to be a very successful businessman. But I want it to. I don't want to get to 40 years old and be in bad shape, or be unhappy. You know, feel like I'd wasted time. So, I want to make sure that I do this all the right way. Yeah.
So, what have you learned that's the most important?
Just need to be content with my situation. Yeah. So I know that's sort of
everyone wants to
say that but it's no. So I guess being aware of who you are physically and mentally is what helps you assess the situation that you're in and how you can change that, or what you need to change. So it's one thing to wake up and say I'm happy, but it's another thing to say that I'm doing everything I can in my power to make sure that I'm happy.
Yeah,
you get what I mean. So
yeah,
it's about for me in the future. I just want to make sure that I'm doing everything in my power, and I guess maybe being strategic about it. Yeah. To be happy, whatever situation I'm in. Yeah, I know that's probably a very broad answer.
Healthy body, healthy mind, bro.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Yeah.
Where can people find you?
You know what? Yeah, I'm Brock Bentley. I'm just some loser, you know, that's done a few laps. That's all.
I love that, bro. Awesome. If you got something out of this episode, please leave a comment and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. It really helps us grow the show so we can keep bringing you the content that matters. Also, guys, it's really important that we're part of the conversation about our health and well-being. And it's easy to do. Just Google Freemasons Foundation Centre for Men's Health and click on the Men's Health Register to sign up and help out with much needed surveys and studies that make us all better off. If you want to stay up to date with what we're doing and get involved, get onto the Young Blood Podcast Community Facebook group and follow Young Blood Podcast on Instagram. And if you're keen to get in touch with me, email youngbloodpodcast, all one word, @hotmail.com. This podcast was produced by the talented Rory Noak at Podbooth. You can check them out at podbooth.com.au. This is Young Blood. Thanks for joining us. Catch you next time.